Welcome to the Beau Show. Although I host this show and provide the best insight, commentary, and analysis that I can, it's nice also to interview people to gain their perspectives, especially those who have shows like mine. In that respect, I was able to sit down recently with Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. Rubin began his career as a stand-up comedian, and as such, he's been a big advocate for free speech. In his stand-up, he tends to highlight the absurdities of our political system with a sort of, you can't make this stuff up kind of lens. He has a big ideas approach and lets common sense be his guide. That may be why he teamed up with Dr. Jordan Peterson on a recent tour of the United States. And I actually saw this tour stop in Miami. Rubin got some thunderous applause when he acknowledged how great it is to be in maskless Miami and thanked everyone for their fake vaccination cards, since at that time of the pandemic, the venue where it was held was requiring proof of vaccination. I think, as we all hopefully know by now, vaccination hasn't meant jack squat. Certainly not a preventer of COVID, but rather a tool used for control, just like masks. Dave used to live out in the Los Angeles area, but abandoned Cali for the shores of Miami, where he could be totally free. Rubin used to be a Democrat, like most good entertainment comrades, but has said that he never left the Democratic Party, but rather the Democratic Party left him. Here was the tipping point for him.
It was a perfect wake-up moment for me because I had been having all these issues with the lefties and what was going on. I considered myself a progressive at the time. I was on the Young Turks network. But there was always this overly emotional reaction to if you discussed anything that they didn't want you to discuss. You were a bigot, a racist, a homophobe, all the litany of things that you could be. And when I saw Affleck doing it, and he was red in the face, and he was jacked because he was about to be Batman, and I just saw it was like watching this A-list actor perfectly act out the overly emotional craziness that I had been seeing from the progressives. And to launch an attack like that, not on a scary conservative or a scary religious person, but on Bill Maher, who's the biggest lefty we've got in America, and Sam Harris, who's a mild-mannered neuroscientist who I didn't even know who he was until that night, until seeing it. That was the first time I had ever seen him speak or even heard of him, I think. To watch that reaction to those guys, it was like, oh, you guys really do eat your own, and you don't want to honestly discuss complex issues. And that was one of the couple wake-up calls that I note in the book. So I credit Affleck, because if it wasn't for his overly emotional tirade, I may not be here today.
I think this has been a common theme, is those who thought they were for freedom of speech are now realizing that the Democrat Party does not support free speech. Big tech got in bed with Democrats to further this move, especially as they suspended Donald Trump and accounts like the New York Post. In an effort to combat big tech censorship, Rubin founded Localscom, a subscription-based digital platform that empowers creators to be independent by giving them control over their content and data. We've seen a number of alternative social media companies spring up in the wake of big tech censorship, from Getter to Trump's own Truth Social. Twitter, as you may now know, had placed warning labels on any content by the Epoch Times. They would place a flag on it saying that this content could be spammy or malicious. After public outcry and without any explanation, Twitter then reversed course and took the warnings off of all Epoch content. This was strange, as you can imagine, because they didn't explain the reason it was there to begin with, or the reason that it got removed. It is typical big tech secrecy. Notice that there are no warning labels on the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Huffington Post, CNN or USA Today or other outlets that have admitted to false or faulty journalism. However, take a look at this. Jordan Peterson posted this tweet about actor Ellen Page, who surgically transitioned to be Elliot Page. Peterson called the doctor who performed the procedure a criminal surgeon, and for that, Twitter said, and we don't know who we is because they hide in obscurity, we have determined that this account violated Twitter rules against hateful conduct, further adding that a user cannot promote hate, violence, or harass others on the basis of gender, or even now added, gender identity. Notice that political opinion or political affiliation are not included in these rules against hateful conduct. That is why you can cuss Trump and call for his death, but calling a surgeon who performed a gender reassignment a criminal will land you in Twitter jail. They wanted Peterson to delete the tweet to get reactivated, but Peterson put his foot down and said he'd rather die than delete it because it goes against every core principle he has about free speech. Dave Rubin screenshotted the Peterson tweet, commenting that over at Twitter, the insanity continues. Just for screenshotting the original Peterson tweet, that got Rubin suspended too. Do you see the craziness of this? So now even Elon Musk has weighed in, saying that Twitter has gone too far in squashing dissenting opinions. Even as this potential Twitter purchase hangs in the air, the anonymous, logic-challenged minions at Twitter still stay at it while they can, because they know their days are probably numbered. Rubin has been watching response tweets get removed in real time. It's so obvious what they are doing. And I'll just say this, if this Twitter deal happens, I hope Elon exposes every single thing Twitter was doing behind the scenes to censor free speech and push partisan politics. And if it doesn't go through, because Twitter has lied about the number of bots that they actually have, I hope Twitter implodes from all the false advertising that they have been doing. Either way, it would be a win for America. Musk's involvement may be one of the greatest free speech moments of our lifetime. Musk also posted this snarky hypothetical tweet. If Paul Revere had Twitter back then, which is so true, "The British are coming! The British are coming!" To which the subtext reads, "Learn how British taxes are beneficial to society." This is how Twitter is actively engaged in psychological warfare. They make suggestions. They place flags and warnings on people they don't like, or they outright suspend them. Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin have opinions. They have just as much of a right to call gender reassignment criminal as transgender people have a right to call Peterson a jerk. Society has lost its spine, and in turn, offensiveness has become one-sided. And if you're on the preferred side, you get to cancel someone. When we talk about the culture war, this is one of the frontline battles. It's good to see that Elon Musk, the potential owner of Twitter, recognizes that the censorship and bias have just gone too far. How many high-level CEOs or leaders have you heard say that? I think that Dave Rubin is one of those guys that liberals should learn from. He thought for himself, just like Kanye West did. He didn't hit the subscribe button to groupthink like the rest of leftist Hollywood did. I don't believe that Hollywood liberals actually believe in what they say. I think that they believe in the idea that they should believe in it. It's a form of mass formation psychosis. And the clique that they have created is intended to purge anyone who doesn't go along with it, which gives all actors like myself, producers and directors an incentive to go along with the program. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if Hollywood were a place that said, come here, all you with differing perspectives, and bring your diverse, creative best. Let's make magic together. But that's not how it works there. So Rubin is this tale of divergence, of splitting with the norm, of having on thought leaders and actually letting them speak, rather than cutting them off and insulting them like they do over there on The View. Dave kind of mastered this long-form interview art form, where true meaningful conversations can happen. He and Jordan Peterson represent a new form of intellectual philosophy, which has been particularly intriguing to young men who are sick of wokeness and brainwashing. They need thought leaders. They need role models. Now, will Rubin and Peterson be invited to college campuses? Probably not, because someone will get their feelings hurt. Mind you, not someone that will actually go to see the speech, but just someone who might be triggered by them even being on campus. That's how bubble-wrapped college students are these days. If you don't believe me, look no further than the recent kerfuffle over Dave Chappelle's name being added and then removed from a new theater at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts. Kids freaked out about it because of what Dave had said in the closer. Not because they were offended, but because someone told them to be offended. That's the big issue these days. It's not offense, it's possible offense. It's offense by proxy. How can you say that about the Cherokee tribe? Well, you're not Cherokee. Well, no, but I'm offended for them. It's that kind of a thing. We walk on eggshells for things that might not even be offensive. But just remember that in Twitter's hate speech policy, political affiliation is not a valid protection. They have specifically left that one out, so that if you happen to think differently from the brainwashed, everyone can come after you. They can cancel you, they can rip your life apart. You can choose your gender and be protected, but you can't choose to be conservative or even a classic liberal and be protected. What's ironic is that most laws in this country prevent discrimination based on a person's creed or their set of beliefs, usually religious. But a person's creed could very well be their political beliefs. But Twitter has made it clear that your creed will not be protected. In fact, attacks will be welcome. I remember when Dave Rubin started the Rubin Report, and I thought it was cool that he kind of left everything he was doing and created a tenuous startup. He just wanted open conversation to be the guide, just like Joe Rogan. And look at the controversy Joe Rogan has created for merely allowing people to speak. I admire anyone who will start a show with no guarantees and just stick to their core. I did that very thing with the Beau show. I had an idea and just a sketch for how I'd want it to go, and I wanted to be an innovator. It's because of people like Howard Stern and Dave Rubin and Joe Rogan and Rush Limbaugh and other pioneers that I've been able to come up with the framework for this show.